Hi, everyone. Kate Byars, founder of Corporate Women Unleashed, where we help high achieving corporate women create balanced lives without giving up that successful career. On today's video, we have some brand new information. If you have a highly successful career, chances are you're working 60, 70, or even 80 plus hours per week from time to time. Now, let me ask you, after year of working those hours, do you feel like at this point in your career, work should be easier? But instead, it's just as hard. It takes just as many hours as when you were a grunt, a newbie straight out of college. Do you find yourself dreaming of quitting your job or finding a simple vocation, just pulling that ripcord because you really need permission to take a break? And are you frustrated that the higher you climb the ladder, the less freedom you seem to have? Well, look, you're not alone. Women are being told to lean in over and over again. When it comes to avoiding burnout, you're supposed to figure that out on your own. I remember in my own experience, my first job out of college, I worked 16-hour days, and I was proud to do it. I actually thought it was pretty cool to look out over the lights of Dallas at midnight as I left to go home night after night. But you know what? Years and years in on my career path, that was no longer giving me the fulfillment that I now needed. I also remember being very serious about leaving my incredible career to go be like a youth counselor or maybe go study turtles on the beach, something that was just completely different than what I was doing because I was so burned out and I didn't know what else to do. Can you relate? Look, it's not that your boss or that your company doesn't care. Quite frankly, they just don't know what to do. And to compensate, your company might do something like build an on-site gym. Or your company may also provide a flex time policy. But if you can't get into the gym, if you can't use the flex time policy, that's not really helping you. Your boss may tell you to take a few days off and relax. Have you ever asked your boss and said, look, I just need a break? And your boss says, take a few days off, you'll be fine. Well, look, despite these gracious measures, you're burning out. And I mean, like I said, do you really have time to use the gym? The reason you're working a 60 or 80-hour week is to try to get it all done, right? So look, here is the real problem. Burnout is not the result of working too many hours. Okay, let me say that again. Burnout is not the result of working too many hours. Burnout is the result of not effectively meeting your biological and psychological needs. We have evolved to survive and thrive. And when all you're doing is barely surviving, you will experience stress, which will then move into anxiety, which then moves into burnout, and then depression. Until you begin meeting your biological and psychological needs, you will stay in a state of stress, anxiety, burnout, or depression. And we all have the same exact 7 needs. Now, this is important. Let's be clear on what those needs actually are. First of all, you do not need to buy a new car. We use the word need in our language very loosely. A car is simply a strategy or a choice you might make to meet your need for autonomy. We certainly have a lot more freedom to travel when we have our own car versus if we were riding a bus, a train, or hitchhiking. Well, now we're on someone else's schedule, correct? And you do not need to have a date night with your spouse. A date night is simply one strategy for meeting your need for connection with your spouse. You could connect on the couch late at night. You could connect under the sheets. You could connect with a cup of coffee early on a Saturday morning. And you do not need to take time for yourself. Instead, you want to choose an action that allows you to experience flow in order to meet your need for leisure. Maybe if you are someone who commutes by train, you take a wonderful magazine that you've been wanting to read and you flip through it because it's just mindless and relaxing. Or if you're in your car, you might listen to some crazy music from your past that you love or a fantastic podcast that just ignites your spirit. Does that make sense? So look, the other thing you need to understand is that needs are not buckets. I'm introducing you to the science of human behavior. A lot of times you'll see people talk about buckets, and buckets are just a way of categorizing different areas of your life. That is not what we're talking about here. A lot of times what I see other people describe as buckets are actually 2 or 3 different categorizations of the same exact human need. And second of all, needs are not random or individualized. My needs are the same as yours, or the same as someone in a different socioeconomic strata, or the same as someone in a different country. I want you to understand very clearly that your needs, these are human, biological, and psychological needs, and we all have the same ones. Now, what are they? Health, safety, connection, autonomy, esteem, purpose, and leisure. Each of those needs have to have some energy put towards them. So you can choose not to put energy towards them, but you cannot, so you can ignore your needs, but you cannot choose not to have them. We all have them. Now, there's no specific order for these needs, and there's no hierarchy. We are not talking about Maslow. And when you learn to master your life by using those needs as your comfort, you will find calm amidst the storm. And the way it will show up is that you will actually learn to crave various needs and think, the reason I'm feeling this way is I need to give some energy towards this need. Wait, the reason I am choosing this behavior is that I have been ignoring this need. And this is what creates flow versus running around in your life just trying to get all these different things done. Does that make sense? Now, you can work a stretch of 80-hour work weeks. I don't want you to, but you can work this and you can feel centered and balanced as long as you are giving energy to each of your needs. Now, let me introduce you to one of our clients who did just that. This is Ellen, and we've changed her name for confidentiality reasons. Ellen works for a company that has no interest in work-life balance. Her company doesn't talk about work-life balance. They don't talk about prevention of burnout. They simply say, get in there and get it done. Now, Ellen happens to be extraordinarily good at what she does, and what happens when you're extraordinarily good, you get asked to be on a lot of committees, a lot of task force, and involved in a lot of projects, whether or not that falls under your job. She also happens to work internationally. Her company is global, which means she often has late night conference calls, or she is doing, late night entertaining and meetings when the folks from overseas are in town. She is a single mom to 2 amazing kids that she adores. And she's incredibly involved in her kids' activities. She goes to every sporting event. She goes to all of their concerts. Anything they have going on, you can be sure Ellen is there. Yet, at every event, like she told me on our very first call, there's her briefcase. Always bringing work along for the ride. Always making sure that work is there, fitting in all the cracks and crevices of her personal life with more work and more work and more work. And despite her best intentions, Ellen was absolutely burning out. Now, Ellen didn't need more time. She said, Kate, I love my job. I actually chose to come work for this company. The work is fascinating. She just kept naming all these things that she loved about her company, the people she worked with. The work energized her. She loved the results that she was able to get. But yet she couldn't contain the burnout, and she was getting overwhelmed quickly. Now, Ellen had been with her company about 3 to 4 years, and she did not need to step back or create more time. She needed to understand her needs and which actions she could take that would most effectively meet those needs. You can't just understand your needs. You also have to take actions that are effective. So during the 8 weeks of our program, Ellen had an absolutely hedonistic schedule. I mean, it was insane. The first couple of weeks, it wasn't too bad. And then immediately, things blew up. She had day trips to executive meetings. She was out of town. She had out-of-town visitors from abroad. A company reorg in the middle of her training with us had left her with an entirely new plate of responsibilities. And you know what that's like to straddle your old job and your new job. Somehow you end up doing 2 jobs for quite some time. Did Ellen drown? Did she pull the ripcord? Did she finally have a breakdown and burn out? No. What Ellen did is she learned through our program how to meet her needs for leisure, autonomy, connection, and health, despite what was going on in her chaotic career. So she learned very clearly how she could give herself moments of leisure and flow and escape from all of this chaos, even though she didn't have a full day off for weeks on end. She learned how to take control. That's what autonomy is. We have to feel like we're in control of our own destiny. Otherwise, you're absolutely going to work into a state of anxiety and stress. She learned how to still connect with her kids, even though all this was going on, but still hold on to a very high level of professionalism and connection with her colleagues and people who were traveling from out of town. And then finally, she took care of her health. Very often what we do when we get into these work sprints is we put all these things off and we try to push through until we get to the end. But then what happens? We have to reconnect. We have to re-engage in our health. We have to re-find ourselves. And that just doesn't work, right? We're constantly in the state of 2 steps forward, 1 step, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, which is really self-defeating. Now, what Ellen did is she learned to take control over the moment and allocate time to what she needed, human needs, rather than pushing hard, like I said, to make it through. And I love, this is one of the many posts she left in our group, and I wanted to share this with you. She says, "Hey guys, it's been another grueling week with international colleagues in town. I've had early morning meetings, all day working sessions, and I've spent my evenings entertaining. And of course, there are doctor appointments for the kids and spring concerts. Plus the water heater broke this weekend, so no hot water. Would I normally be on overdrive and silently freaking out? Yup. Am I freaked out? Nope. I'm moving in the most balanced way through this week, and I feel in total control." So what about you? Are you burning out? Are you starting to see the signs of burnout where you're up in the middle of the night? Do you constantly check your cell phone? Do you have a hard time disconnecting from work? Are you putting your health off and hoping for tomorrow to lose 15 pounds? Are you starting to snap? Having a hard time with clarity, getting grouchy with people around you? Those are all signs of burnout. How much longer are you willing to put your life on hold for your career? All right, so let me tell you what we teach in Corporate Women Unleashed. We teach high achievers how to gain control of their career and develop the mental game that allows you to create the life you want without giving up a successful career. Now, the first thing we do is we show you how to adapt your psychology. Women hold on to many myths rooted in fear because you are trying to keep your seat at the table. Plus, it feels good to be needed at work and be recognized. So we teach women how to harness the high you get from the office and tame the fears and concerns you have so that you do not have to worry that you're not performing well enough or that you're creating a trade-off. And instead, the result is that you will be able to confidently disconnect and have energy for your personal life when you learn to shut your mind off and feel confident when is the right time to do that and when do you really need to be leaning in. The next thing we do is we show you how to create a life of well-being with a lot of the content that I just shared with you in the video. High achievers are very prone to imbalance because we put too much attention into security or safety. That's your paycheck, okay, your job, your insurance, your benefits, and esteem, feeling good about what you do, feeling, the ego for being chosen, for being a high performer. So when all of our energy is going into safety and esteem, guess what happens? Our other human biologic and psychological needs are not being met. So we teach you how to identify when one of your needs requires a recharge and choose the most effective strategies or actions to meet that need that's actually going to fit within your lifestyle and build a sustainable foundation of balance that flexes also with your ever-evolving lifestyle, because that's important. If you have kids, your kids are going to get older. If you don't have kids and you're single, you're going to meet someone potentially and get married someday. You're going to become an empty nester if you have children. Your life is going to evolve, so you have to know how to do this ongoing, not just in the moment. And this results in just a calm, graceful state of being because you flow from one area of life to the next, just like that example I just gave you with Ellen. Now, we also show you how to influence your world because, look, as a high achiever, you should be done proving yourself. If you have been recognized and you're successful in your career, it's time to start aligning what you do best with leadership objectives and influence your environment rather than be a slave to it. Beyond skills and personality tests, put all that aside. I know you guys have done all that. That is not what we're talking about. We teach women how to leverage your new knowledge of psychology, which is the first thing we teach you, and human behavior, the second, to start influencing others. And this is when it gets really rich, because once you understand it in yourself, you will start noticing it in those around you. And now you can start influencing your environment. And this is where you really start to experience success on your terms. This is the sweet spot. And then finally, we give real-time mentoring. Successfully navigating freedom at this level is achieved through expert mentoring. So you get feedback on what you cannot see. What often happens is when we're trying to do this on our own, we'll take a few steps in the right direction, but we're not really certain if we're doing it right. And then we just retract because we're not really sure. And so when you are working with a mentor, you can quickly adjust and assimilate new thinking and that new behavior that puts you in control of your destiny. So we work alongside you 24/7. We have women who will actually reach out to us in the middle of meetings, in the middle of negotiations, right before they're stepping into a huge meeting with a boss or a leadership team. If they're having like a last minute sort of crisis of conscience and not quite sure, if they've got all the strategies lined up the way they need it to be. And we're right there, right? And so when you get that real-time feedback and support, the result is rapid adoption of new skills and transformational change in only 8 weeks because we're helping you in real time. And I know for myself, this was really key as we were developing this program because I have been to some of the top leadership training programs in the nation that are really phenomenal. But so often you're working in a laboratory, right? You are working in a simulation of the real world and not in the real world. And while I did learn some things, and I certainly came, back into my career inspired and with some tools, it doesn't really help you instantly sort of start grasping, and you don't have anyone there to guide you. You have a very expensive 3-ring binder that's sitting on your desk. So this piece is really key. So look, if you're listening to this now, you have a choice. Do you want to take control of your life and enjoy success on your terms? And I want to pause here because that's a very serious question. You have to make a decision first. And let me assure you, before you do, it's not easy, okay? It takes resolve to step outside your comfort zone, okay? You're already living with the devil you know, right? So it's scary to step outside your comfort zone. And it's okay to have fear, but the process, I assure you, is simple and sustainable. And once you scratch the surface with these new skills, just in the first few weeks of learning them and putting them into practice, you will be amazed at how peaceful and in control your life will start to be. So look, if you're ready to see what's possible, here's what I have for you. My team and I set aside every week a couple of days on our calendar to speak with you about your career and how you can start enjoying the life that you've earned. What we will do on a 45 to 60-minute call is we're going to help you identify what's the true cause of your career imbalance. We've got to know that first, A, to see if you're a fit for what we do, and B, and then to really help and see what some of the solutions are. And then we can move into some ideas on how you can start getting control of your career and then provide you a clear game plan of what you need to do to get what you want. Now, the cost of this call is absolutely free, but there is a catch. It's not for everyone. First of all, you need to be someone who's really good at what they do and you love your work, right? Because it's no longer sustainable, though, to keep up the pace, and you are ready to get control and start enjoying freedom, start enjoying personal fulfillment, try to start enjoying your personal life, as well as the financial abundance and the fulfillment and the challenge that your career gives you. You are also frustrated that your career is coming first and you are ready to play bigger and create opportunities in your life for a new way of doing things. And then finally, you need to understand that investing in yourself is required, okay? There's just no way to create the changes you need to create if you're going to, without investing in yourself, if you're really going to break free and make a sustainable change. So that needs to be just, understood from the beginning. The only way to get rid of the limitations, the blind spots, the strategies that you're missing that are holding you back is to really set up your mind to learning what needs to happen and investing in that. So look, if that sounds like you, and if I am speaking your language and you're like, hey, I really like the way Kate's approaching this and I get what she's talking about, this is something for me, let's find out together, right? Go ahead and book a discovery call. There's no obligation. When we get on the call, we're really just going to talk through those 3 things. And, we really want you to come away feeling like you have some insight and you have a very clear game plan for what's possible and what's going to happen for the choices that you decide to make, right? And if it's a fit and you're a fit for our program, we may decide to invite you in as one of our clients this month. And if not, that's okay too. So go to KathleenByars.com/apply. Again, there'll be a couple days on the schedule where you can pick an appointment time, pick one that works for you. Afterwards, it's going to bounce you over to an application form, fill that out, let us know what's going on so we come to the call prepared and we can hit the ground running. And I want to thank you for listening to our video today.